Hello everybody, it's Dr. Jay-Z here. Today is a terrific Tuesday morning and I want to share this piece of terrific news with everybody. So last evening we had our GM Ding Chilling Liren, right? Winning game 12 on demand. And so we had this beautiful photograph of him looking jubilant and smiling at us. And as the title is saying, prescient Ding makes his own destiny, right? Yes, he can predict events. And so that makes him worthy of the first adjective, prescient. All right, let's take a quick look at some of the interviews, right? Okay, so this was a fantastic interview done by the chess.com journalist. I do not know what his name is actually, but he's always a person who enunciates and who asks very, very good questions. So here's this segment that I want everybody to focus on, right? Okay.
For him, but I just need to spend more time on every situation, figure out what's going on.
You used your time very wisely today to get the winning position. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Gukesh. Who has the momentum in the match? Momentum is like who is doing better in recent games.
I think we are doing equally good because yesterday I missed a chance. He win the game, but today I win. I really flawless play.
Okay, well, you said you became a coffee drinker today. Are you now a coffee drinker for life?
Normally I don't drink coffee, but yesterday I didn't drink before the game. So I started. So today I once again drink some coffee.
Okay, well there you go.
So there you go, everyone. There you go, folks. Yeah. So first of all, right, Ding mentioned that he actually spent a lot of time in the opening because he needs to get all the things right. And he also gave credit, right? He also gave credit to Gukesh for doing a great job. That's why, he didn't say, I'm the person with the momentum, right? He was absolutely a gentleman, right? So that's like a management skill, right? A behavioral social skill that we all need to learn from him. And then the last part is perhaps not too surprising, all right? Yeah. Drinking coffee is good for our attention, for keeping us awake, right? And making the right decisions. So for him, it worked, all right? However, I just want to mention that drinking coffee is not universal, right? It's not a universal fix for everybody. There are people like me, occasionally, when I drink coffee, I became more tired, all right? I do not know what's the reason for it, but it can backfire, right? I mean, yeah, it backfired, like drinking coffee had backfired on several occasions for me, right? It actually decreased my performance rather than increase it, right? But personally, I would say that drinking coffee, being an academic scholar, drinking coffee makes me write better manuscripts. Yeah. All right. So enough being said, now I just want to show everybody a quick analysis because the game was extremely smooth. There isn't really a lot of things that's just difficult to understand, right? So let me just go back. I think it was I got to do a quick search, correct? Yeah, sorry about that. I think I missed it. Yeah, so this is our FIDE World Chess Championship. You got to mention Lee Chess, right? Yeah, game 12 Lee Chess. Yes. All right, here we go, everybody. Here we go. So I want to show everybody like the what's wrong with this? Oh, what's wrong with this? Why is it not showing? Yeah. Game sorting. Is it because it's game sorting? Oh, right. So this is game sorting. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. I mean, this is Google's fault, right? Yeah. This is really Google's fault. Yeah. All right. Let's go, baby. All right. So this is just a quick run through, right? So from here, I mean, this is a kind of new position for Ding, right? He kind of mentioned that it took him some time, right, to familiarize himself with this position. So that's why you can see on the bottom, right? So the time dropped from 1 hour 41 minutes to 1 hour 29 minutes. So it's about 12 minutes for him. And then after that, right, he didn't really spend too much time, but he just want to, spend the right amount of time to make sure that he calculated the right moves, right? So like this rook b8 is just really bizarre, okay? Really bizarre. Rook b8 was really like the first very bad move from Gukesh, right? I mean, rook e8 is just a normal move, rook e8 and then bishop f8. But he instead, right, instead, because you need the rook on the original square to protect the a5 pawn, which can eventually go to a4. So I mean, so later on, the rook on b8, it became a target. Okay, we'll come to that. Yeah. I mean from this moment onwards, okay, not here. I think yeah. So after this rook a d1, I mean these are all very computer-esque, right? Right. I mean not necessarily all Stockfish's move, definitely, but you know queen d2 is Stockfish's move, right? After this move, I think Gukesh became very uncomfortable, right? After queen d2, I think in the press conference he also said that he maybe like underestimated queen d2, right? Of course, I mean obviously that's with the intention of making d4, right? So here, this bishop g6 was really passive. And so the right approach, of course, suggested by Stockfish is knight c5. I mean, the most forceful line, right? But I think a human would make knight b6 as happened in the game. And then you play something like this. And yeah, something like this. I think the knight goes to d3, right, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a set here. And there's this very deep line. Very deep line. This is totally non-human again, right? Yeah, here take, and then what happens? You don't take the knight on c6, right? Because after taking the knight on c6, your knight on b5 will be under attack, right? And then you take back the knight on e1, right? C takes b5. Nah, that's just stupidity. So queen takes e1, right? And then yeah, basically you just kind of up a pawn, and then you gain the center. In other words, right? And the computer thinks that it's slightly better for you know for white, but I think anything this just looks like a very easy position to play for white, right? Let's say if we take, right? Yeah, so yeah, the computer really likes knight a7, yeah, rather than just taking the bishop, taking the pawn back straight away, right? Yeah, knight a7, just rerouting the knight to c6. Yeah, that's very strong. Yeah, so that is something I think what a human would do, not retreating. This is really an AI move, right? Knight f3. So I mean the backward knight moves are always the hardest to perceive. All right, let's go back. So after queen d2, all right, bishop g6, and understandably, right, and rightfully, Ding made the pawn push, right, d4. And after d4, e4, okay, these are very normal moves, right? And okay, after this move, knight b6, black is starting to get very passive. And then queen c3, all right, queen c3, exclamation mark, all right? Very good move. Why? Queen c3 is better than queen d2, right? Because queen c3, you're keeping an eye on the a5 pawn, all right? And then you are also kind of, after making d5, d6, there's also you know an attack on the dark squares, all right, surrounding the king, which is eventually what happened. Okay, later on as the game come to a close, and now okay, so this one is kind of yeah, all right. I mean to get out of the ping, right? Queen c2, right? A4, yeah, preventing any b4 breaks, right? Yeah, this knight f4 is natural, right? But at the same time, it is also the strongest, right? Bishop f6 is just, it's just very. I mean, I think Gukesh was getting desperate at this point. Couldn't really find a good move. I mean, knight a5, not human at all, right? Not human at all. Like say knight a5, yeah, moves like this, just not human. You got to be very brave, right? You're being on the defensive, and then suddenly you try to drum up some kind of counterplay on the queen side. But then in this situation, you have to calculate very carefully. I think this is just very difficult, yeah. So at this moment in time, Gukesh starts to burn a lot of time, right? So here, what happens after bishop h7? Right, so there's a lot of options. I think even d5 works, right? Yeah, d5. The computer likes c5, right? Yeah, but I think Ding might have just easily gone for d5, yeah. So c5. After that, you just take the a pawn, and then yeah, you simply up a pawn in this case, right? So yeah, very understandably he takes it, right? And now you see, right? Now you have the knight on b5 and bishop on f4 attacking c7, and black has to waste a move, you know, waste a tempo defending it. Rook c8, and then the computer likes d5 straight away, but it's okay. Ding just follows the original plan. So I get my queen back to c3. I wait and see what black is going to do. He may make a blunder, and then I make d5. d5 is coming anyway, right? So rolling pawn start, right, d5. And here, right, instead of d5, he could have just gone knight a7, right? The rook on c8 is totally trapped. totally trapped, right? Yeah. So he didn't go for that, but d5 is still good, right? You don't really have any change in the evaluation. So because I think the knight was just so well placed, in this case, I think the knight is simply worth more than the rook on c8. So d5 actually, it deserves an exclamation mark, all right? And then queen d7, so vacating d8 for the rook on c8. Yeah, rightfully, right? Of course. I mean, the d6 pawn cannot be taken, otherwise, it's a fork. Yeah, it's a fork, and then there's just no play, right? So c5, right? Very, very interesting is c5. c6 can be played, but it's very, very passive. So Gukesh played c5 because he wanted to vacate c6 for his knight on b8. So the knight on b8 can hop to c6, and knight c7. So yeah, in a blitz bullet situation, anybody, right? Anybody would play knight c7, right? However, what differentiates the better player from an average player is that the better player will not lose his pawns, right? The forward pawn. So here is also very, very easy for you to kind of make mistakes, right? If you're not careful playing bullet, you can easily lose the d pawn, right? So, but this is classical chess, right? So you got to calculate everything correctly. So now, right now, everybody is kind of, both players are down to 8 minutes, right, for Ding, and then, yeah, Gukesh 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So, yeah, so in this situation, I think Gukesh is just kind of out of ideas, right? And then I don't know why he just gave up the pawn for nothing. Could have put up more resistance with f5. f5 is not hard to see, so I have no idea why he did rook f8. I think he's just trying to kind of, maybe like trick Ding or something. I mean, that's just not worth it, like giving up the e4 pawn for nothing. I just don't really understand. And here Ding actually made this bishop g2 retreat, which is very, very good. Okay, I think in a blitz situation, anybody, average player, would just simply take the bishop on g6, right? And then maybe like do something like this, right? However, in this situation, you can see that the play becomes much more difficult, right? It's just not obvious, right? You got to, I mean, b4 in this situation simply is not obvious, right? So Ding opted to retain his bishop, right? Maybe that's the reason, right? You just want to see whether I sacrifice the e4 pawn, and then I want to see whether you will take my bishop on g6, and then at least I get the f5, right, for some counterplay. So in that context, I think sacrificing the e4 pawn makes sense, right? But of course, I mean, D retain, g2 retain all the pieces, right? So that's excellent positional evaluation, right here, and then knight takes, going back, and now Ding is up another pawn, right? Knight a6 is the computer's top choice that wasn't played. Right, turning it off, right? It's getting a little bit annoying, right? All these moves are pretty normal, right? Now from here onwards, I mean, this is just the beginning of the end, right? Rook e7, anybody would play this. Even like rook c1 also works, as pointed out by Vishy Anand. And the queen goes away, right? d7. So hold on. You got to be extremely careful, right, to hold on to the d7 pawn. I mean, in this situation, let's say, okay, after rook c2. If white is a little bit too hasty, he goes this rook e8, queen takes d7. I mean, he still has a little bit of advantage, but the d7 pawn is lost, right? And it gets harder to win on the spot. So of course, Ding was very, very patient, and I think he made, objectively speaking, not this bishop f1 that is a computer's move. He made bishop d6, exclamation mark, because that forces the matter after rook e8. Right, that forces the matter. So if this is white's move, rook e8 simply wins. So to block the rook from coming to e8, Gukesh played this very, very intuitive, very, very normal f6. But after that, right, Ding immediately played rook takes g7. So previously in game 11, we have a queen sacrifice. In this game, we have a rook sacrifice. And this rook sacrifice lead to a mate, a direct mate in 7. Right, let's look at how this thing goes. Right, the longest mate, right? I mean, that is yeah. So take, and then queen, right? Yeah, because you sacrifice the rook, right, to open up the trajectory for your bishop, right? Bishop takes the rook, well, yeah. King takes bishop, right? Queen, all right. d8 equals a new queen, and then after that, so you block. You don't make the king come here. To make the king g7. That's even a quicker mate, right? So the path of the greatest resistance is queen e8. Then after that, you take, right, block. So here's the thing, yeah. Then you take the other pawn, king e8. One of the queen goes to, I think, yeah, this is queen h8, right? Queen h8, and then queen blocks. Not this, right? The queen can actually, oh no, I think this is the only way, right? Yeah, the only way, right? So I mean, either one, I think this one takes, Then this one check. I think this is checkmate, right? This is checkmate. Yeah. So this is really a very very forceful checkmate, right? So looking at this, let me just rewind. All right. Come here, here. Okay. Take this is a direct big into. This is not hard to see at all, right? Just when you want to play it out for everybody, this is too easy, right? This is way too easy, right? Way too easy. All right. So of course, go for the long one. All right. The one with the greatest resistance with queen e8 takes, right? You got to play, right? You got to play this queen takes h6. I mean, you can check with this as well. I mean, equally winning, but why? I mean, why go for the longer checkmate when you have a shorter one, right? So takes, yeah, takes. I think a human player will easily play this, right? But I mean, similarly, right? Yeah. I mean, either queen go to d8. That's a checkmate, yeah, right? So we just play the computer-esque queen f8 defense, right? But anyway, that's just a dead checkmate, right? So with two queens. And so, yeah, the game was won in a devastating style, right, by Ding, right? So it was very, very smooth, right? Well, I think it was very, very smooth from his side of things. So I think, yeah, just Gukesh, like, going back, I really think that, yeah, Gukesh just didn't make the right plans, you know. Let's just go back, right? Yeah, after all this, like starting from rook b8, I think that's when he actually started to waver, right? Yeah, looking at the time, right? Yeah, he spent a lot of time on that from 1 hour 34, and then he's down to 1 hour 19 15 minutes on making a move that doesn't look great at all, right? Yeah, so I mean, I just don't understand. So if you look at rook e8 as what I mentioned, right? You know, let's just play all the computer-esque moves, right? Okay, let's just say, you know, bishop f8, right? This is what I mentioned. This is how normally we will play in a blitz situation. And I think there's also, like, you got to play like bishop on f5, you know, sometime in time, all right? Somewhere in time, I mean. And then, yeah, so there's still always this clamp, right? You have your rook on a8, I mean, a5, a4, a5, a4, right? It's always a good idea, right? Always a good move to play, right? And then, yeah, just this knight b5, right? Knight b5, we saw that being made by Ding. And now you have the rerouting of the knight, right? Potentially to c5 or b6, so that's really up to how white is going to respond, yeah. So in this situation, let's say if I put this bishop here, I want to do d4, right? And now in this situation, computer is thinking that black is slightly better, right? Because, yeah, let's say this one I want to prevent, this is knight a5, so this is a very yeah, this is a very ingenious way of preventing d4, because in this case, if I do d4, then the knight can simply take c4, right? Yeah, and black is better. Yeah, so you got to, yeah, so after this bishop f1, not a very good move. Computer is suggesting a knight c3, right? And then there's even knight b3, right? Which is good, right? Which is good, right? Yeah. So this is actually how black should have played. By alas, that was not to be, right? That was not to be. So another thing, okay, with let's say, okay, he plays the computer-esque move, right? Knight a5, right? So no, that wasn't what I was thinking about. So let's say, okay, let's say if, okay, let's say if white goes king g1, right? Yeah. So what can happen? So this is bishop f5, right? All this moves. I think it's just perfectly fine, you know, perfectly fine for black, right? I don't really see any potential problems, yeah, for black. I think even in this situation, if I'm not mistaken, knight c5 is not that a great move. Okay, potentially I think it's after taking it, right? We have d4. Oh no, not yeah. So take first, yeah, and then you have d4, yeah. So you just lose a point in that situation, right? Okay. Right, understood, right? So, but anyway, I mean, that's always, yeah, rook e8 in this situation is definitely much better. Let's just go back, rewind the variation, right? Rewind the variation, yeah. Yeah, I mean, here, I mean, the computer-esque knight d4 is best, right? Because you're threatening knight b3, yeah, of course. Then there's a lot of play, right? It's just a lot of play, right? Yeah. You're not really afraid. I mean, in this situation, yeah, also good, right? Yeah. So I think what I yeah, the usual approach, yeah, with bishop f8. After that, I think that's also a perfectly playable variation, right? A5, a4, yeah, that's just a perfectly playable variation. So in this position, I think there's still a lot of work for both sides, right? And then black is simply playable. I mean, he has a playable position after this knight d7. I mean, Yeah, so I mean, you're just waiting and see, what is black going. I mean, what is white going to do, right? What is white going to do? Okay, I can always put my knight to b6, right? Here, I mean, the knight really belongs to b6, right? And that really will just hinder you. You want to prevent white from making the d4 push, right? As long as possible, right? Yeah, yeah. Just keeping some kind of double counter attack on c4. Yeah. So ideally, this should have been a position that Gukesh went for, but alas, that didn't really happen, right? So, and that really, from this rook b8 onwards, yeah, he just got a very difficult position here. All right, so enough being said, all right, I hope everybody enjoyed my recap, my analysis, right? So today's a rest day, and tomorrow the players are going to have another exciting game again, right? So we have 2 more games to go, right, before the conclusion of this entire match. And if both players are tied, we are going to have 4 rapid games. So right now I think the pendulum has swung in Ding's favor. That's really pointed out by GM Hikaru Nakamura as well. And I agree with that, right? But however, I think because tomorrow Gukesh will be playing with the white pieces, and he had 2 very good wins with white. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. So yeah, it's still anybody's game, right? All right. So with that being said,